Good evening and welcome to the December 8th regular board meeting. We'll ask for a roll call, please.
Okay. Cooney.
Present.
DeBeat.
Present.
Dalby.
Present.
Koff.
Present.
Phillips.
Present.
Schneider.
Present.
Schur.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll invite you to stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome to our visitors and media representatives that are here tonight. We will have a public hearing for the Muscatine Community School District I gotta close my notes, sorry. For the proposed plans and specifications and the estimated cost of the Muscatine Community School District turf field replacement. We will need a motion to open that public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Cooney. Roll call.
Aye.
DeBeat.
Aye.
Dalby. Aye. Koff.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
And Schur.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Were there any comments or discussion on that? All right. We'll do another roll call vote and we'll move to close. If someone will make that motion.
I'll make motion closed. Second.
And the roll call vote.
Cooney.
Aye.
DeBeat.
Aye.
Dalby. Aye. Koff.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
And Schur.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move into our student school board representative update with McKenna Shoemaker and Cadence Peterson.
MHS Chamber Choir and Symphony Orchestra will be performing at the United Methodist Church tomorrow night for their Winter Glow concert at 7 p.m. The concert will be free. This week is happiness at MHS. Today was PJ Day. Tomorrow is White Lie or Whiteout Day. You either write a little white lie on your shirt or wear all white. Wednesday is dress like a character from a movie or cartoon. Thursday is awkward family photos. You wear a flannel or family photo outfit and get family photos done at lunch with friends. Friday is Festive Friday, where you deck out in Christmas apparel. Muskie Drama just had their auditions for the spring musical Guys and Dolls. Congratulations to those who made it. The Muskie Orchestra concert is this Thursday, December 11th at 7 p.m. in the MHS Auditorium. The Muskie Band concert is Saturday, December 13th at 2 p.m. in the MHS Auditorium. And the Muskie Choir concert is next Monday, December 15th at 7 p.m. in the MHS Auditorium. The choir and band programs are wrapping up their annual fundraisers. The choir program is selling discount cards with 22 deals for $20, and the band program is selling their popular nut and chocolate assortments. The Muscatine High School Council just finished their can drive. They collected 1,500 non-perishable food items for the Salvation Army's Freezing for Food drive. The Key Club is doing a toy drive. The box to drop off new or gently used toys that go to babies, kids, or teens in need is at the attendance office for parents or students to drop off.
The Muskie Palm Squad earned Division I ratings for all 3 routines at state last weekend and placed 3rd in mix, 5th in kick, and 8th in palm. On Saturday, Muskie Boys Swim finished 2nd at the 6th Team Falcon Relays in Davenport. Bettendorf won the meet. The Muskies will compete in Bettendorf Thursday night. Boys Wrestling placed 5th at the 10-team Bob Murphy Invitational in Manchester with 117 points. Senior Andy Frankie won the 215-pound championship. Chevy Ryder took 2nd at 285 pounds, and Seth Ryland was 3rd at 157 pounds. Aiden Narker, Matthew Nava, and Gavin Wade each placed 4th. The Muscatine High School boys basketball team won 75-40 over Burlington on Saturday afternoon in the team's home opener. The Muscatine basketball team is now 2-0. Additionally, the Muscatine Community Foundation has opened its scholarship portal for seniors, which closes on March 9th. Finals are next week at the high school, and the Muscatine High School Student Services will be hosting sessions from December 15th to 18th from 3:45 to 5:15 p.m. for students in need of some extra help and advisory. We wish you a happy winter break, and we hope you get to spend some quality time with your families. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for them? All right, thank you. We will move into the citizen speak portion of the agenda. If anyone would like to approach the board, they can go to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes, and per Iowa code, we cannot respond as a board. All right. Moving into the board targets area, our goals. My computer jumps, my screen moves all the way up, and then I lose the spot. So if that's what's happening. All right. A, students will graduate prepared for post-secondary options. B, Muscatine schools will utilize resources effectively and equitably. C, students will learn in a positive and supportive environment. We have 2 presentations in this area today. We'll start with our math adoption process.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to start out just by introducing our presenters. Tonight we have Kim Siwasing from Jefferson, Jessica Jones from Jefferson, Angela Clapp from McKinley, Lynn Hines from Jefferson, Betty Justice from Franklin, and Lainey Berry for our TLC. So tonight we're just going to give you a brief update on where we are with the K-6 math adoption process. If you remember, the last time we reported out, the Oversight Committee had used ed reports and a rubric to select 4 math programs that we would evaluate. And our evaluation process included looking at focus and coherence, rigor in mathematical practices, and usability ratings. So the selection committee, which we have people up here tonight, teachers, that are going to be sharing about their process of how they took those top 4 choices and winnowed it down to the top 2 programs that we will be piloting this this winter when we come back. In addition, teachers have been participating in professional development in our grade level meetings using principles to actions. So I'm going to turn it over to Lynn, and she's going to share about how we started this process.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the process that we went through for selecting the 2 pilots. As a selection committee, we attended 4 vendor sessions here after contract hours where we learned more about each program from the vendors. Then we used the math evidence guides to rate each program. We rated these with our grade levels representatives from each building. We were also given extra time to explore and go through the materials more in depth, especially looking at, for the students, our diverse learners, and the technology components that would come with each program as well. And then we met on November 18th to review the evidence guide responses and go through a consensus decision-making process to select 2 programs which we would pilot.
After that, we then went through the consensus decision-making process. This was the consensus that made the process we used. We then sat in grade level teams to review the feedback from the teachers in our grade level as well as our feedback from other grades. We have the inclusive, which shows that it is all groups involved in discussions. The participatory, which all participants are allowed a chance to contribute. The collaborative, and then we also have the agreement seeking process and the cooperative, where all participants are encouraged to keep the goods of the whole group in mind.
I'm not helping her get those clicked over. Mr. Comstock, we might need to click on the evidence guide resource link, and I'm not sure how to do that from here. See, thank you. Ask and you shall receive.
Thank you. So here's the feedback from our committee. It was the work on the 4 programs that we reviewed. As you can see, the top 2 programs from the summary are Reveal and iReady. Everyone was looking to ensure that all programs were available in Spanish as well, that there was differentiated instruction, an intervention component, engaging materials, an online component, and that there were also multiple different forms of assessment. And our committee made the final selection for Reveal and iReady.
Scott, can you go back to the slideshow, please? Thank you. I'm Lainey Berry. Some of you are new, so I know some of you, but welcome to the new faces in the room. I'm the MTSS coordinator on the instruction side for the district. The next step in the process is selecting units for pilot. So when the teachers come back from break after a couple weeks, they will start teaching this with their students in their classrooms at 3 of the elementary schools. So what we had to do is look at our pacing guides to make sure that we were covering the standards that students needed to have by the end of the school year during these time periods where they were piloting. So we looked through our scope and sequence and then compared it to the scope and sequence of the Reveal curriculum and the iReady curriculum. Joelle and I met with the vendors to make sure that we had alignment and that we are covering the standards, that students are not missing out on any instruction, and they will get all of those standards met through the pilot, as they would in the other 3 schools. So then we went through and selected curricular units that students will be engaging in January through May.
As you can see, we have training that we have set up. That's really high. January 19th, we'll be training for our first pilot. February 13th, we'll be training for our second pilot. And then the pilot dates run from January 26th through March 6th. And then the pilot dates for the second is March 23rd through May 1st. The pilot schools are going to be Grant, Jefferson, and Mulberry.
All right, one of the last and most important steps of this process is gathering feedback from everyone. So during the month of April, all of our pilot materials will be here in the board office for community members to look at and review themselves. We will also be collecting feedback from the students themselves to see which ones they may have preferred or were more engaged with. And then last but not least, we will ask for teacher feedback to see how their use was. So, thank you.
And I think that is basically an overview of where we are for this pilot. And I didn't know if you had any questions for any of our teachers that were on this committee or for me.
Thanks for coming tonight and presenting that information to all of us. That was really insightful. Jessica, you mentioned that there are a lot of accessibility features, and you kind of touched on the Spanish. Is it fully available? Are all of the resources fully available in Spanish and English?
Yes, they are.
Perfect. That's awesome. And then our small group rollout that we have with our ELA, curriculum. Is there something comparable that will just kind of differentiate based on?
Yes.
Okay.
And it actually is kind of, both of them have features similar to like how our ELA rollout was, where the Tier 2 program is compatible with the Tier 1. So it's not like you have to buy a separate program, to help support that.
That's awesome. That's exciting. Thank you.
And my question has to do with, you might have maybe actually answered this, but I'm not quite sure if I'm there yet on it. You have the Reveal and the iReady, and so are you indicating that these kids will do the reveal and then they're turning around and they're doing the iReady themselves. So they are comparable enough that it's not a disruption for the kids, or I guess that's what I think about.
I mean, I think anytime, it's obviously a disruption because we're,
Right.
implementing two curriculums, but I will say we're very intentional about the lessons being taught to the students, so there's no disruption in their learning at all. It's just a different material.
Gotcha.
But we're very careful. There might be like a few standards that don't directly align when we're doing the pilot. And so teachers will be made aware like, hey, this one learning standard wasn't covered in the pilot, so we'll just have to pick that up to make sure that there's no gaps for our kids.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So between both of them, you will be covering the standards, right, through the pilot. My other point here, I see that you are using Grant, Jefferson, and Mulberry as a pilot schools. Are we also doing that with every level, all sections, or also are we picking some sections from each level?
So at those three buildings, every classroom teacher at every level will be participating in the pilot. And the reason we chose those three schools is because the other three schools did the CKLA pilot for reading. So unless teachers moved, we were hoping, that they didn't have to go through that process twice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to thank you for doing this. Obviously, you guys are the experts, and we'll trust your recommendations. And so, thank you again for piloting this.
And again, I just want to reiterate, this is a comprehensive process, and we've talked about this before. There's an easier way to do this. It's just Joelle looks at some different curriculum and decides this is the one we're using. We push it out and we do training.
After I just held the clicker upside down, you probably don't want me to do that.
But the reason we do this is so you really are sure, as we look at how they function in a classroom, how they work with our small groups, the language, all of those pieces, we have an opportunity to kind of test in real time and get feedback to make sure we make the best decision possible for our curriculum support. So I appreciate all the work that goes into making this choice.
Thank you. All right, we will move into our second presentation on the MTSS update. Also with Joelle and the team.
All right, so tonight we are giving you an update on our multi-tiered system of supports. As you guys know, we've been working through this process as a district for the past, for many years. But we've really been trying to work on our alignment K-12, pre-K-12. Tonight, we have presenters from each school, and they're just going to give you a highlight about the work that they're doing in their buildings. In addition, I gave you a copy of each school's CSIP plan, which is a comprehensive school improvement plan that has goals and things on there. So you have that as well. So tonight, I also get to welcome from the high school, Sam Paul, from Susan Clark Junior High, Rachel Fallon, Andrea Worley from Franklin, Melissa Shoemaker from Grant, Lynn Hines from Jefferson, Eric Kaiser from Madison, Lisa Doris from McKinley, and Madison Storjahan, I know I'm going to say that name wrong, from Mulberry. Which is a Madison S, I know I say it wrong. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Fridley in Student Services, so it's nice to be here tonight. And this is my first time to be able to speak to the board in my new position, so I'm excited and to tell you a little bit about our framework for the district-wide MTSS. So if you'll see the mapping laid out right here, our multi-tiered system of supports is systematically across our district is overseen by a district leadership team, which we have, it's kind of morphed over a couple of years. We were the district environment committee, and we've really moved into this district leadership team. And we are using the same goals, and when I look at the board targets, it falls right into our two main areas of focus, environment and instruction. Because we believe we need a successful environment for kids, and that would include a safe, supportive environment for them to learn in, and for all of our staff and families as well. Also, too, we need a high-quality Tier 1 instruction, and just as you heard through the math adoption and all the materials we use, we're looking at high quality and high-quality teaching and exposure. So those are our two main areas of focus for our district MTSS system, and it's supported really twofold, two ways, through the district leadership team and the building leadership teams. And so as we look at those teams, this group of people are all part of the work being done that's at the building. So when we look at our building leadership teams, they're overseeing the building environment teams and instruction teams. Every building has an environment team, an instruction team, and you can see in the CSIP, the Campus Improvement Plans, that each building has goals under each the environment and instruction. And then our teams at the building level support into those teams. So this is just a really good visual for you to see that. And tonight you get to hear directly from the people doing the work, implementing the work on at the building level.
So as you know, throughout the year, we have in-services, and after each in-service, we ask for feedback. And I know that slide's really small, but we do ask for feedback from all of our stakeholders on if they're feeling that the work that they're doing is relevant to this instruction and environment work. On our October in-service, we had 88.6% of our teachers, up to 89.5% of our teachers feel the work was relevant. In November, we range from 81% to 95%. So they rate each section of our professional development. So we continue to gather feedback from them so that each time we can improve in our work. So we're going to start out talking about that work, and I'm going to let Sam Paul come up here for this.
I'm Sam Paul. I'm one of the ag teachers at Muscatine High School and on the department head and on the BLT at the high school. So of our two focuses, we're looking at instruction. We'll look at the instruction side first there. And one of the things with our PD is we have focused on all the core principles, but differentiated learning as well as engagement as probably the two areas have taken most of our PD. We also, to kind of assess where we're at, we've also increased pop-ins by the instructional team. And so this year, right before the meeting here, when we gathered data, we had about 390 pop-ins. Just a quick stop-in by instructional coach or administrator to see what of those targeted areas are being addressed just when they stop in the room. Last year, we were right around 1,000, so we're kind of on the same pace for this year. Something new this year that we've worked on is implementing teacher-to-teacher pop-ins. So there's some cards that teachers can fill out. They can take a card, stop by somebody else's room, see what practice is going on, drop that card off to add to the tally and to the data there. So that's kind of the instructional side of things. The environment side of things, we've done a number of different things at the high school to try to improve environment or increase environment. Probably one of the challenges at the high school for staff-wise is just there's just so many people. So working in a building of a couple hundred people is much different than working in a building of 30 or 40. I joke with many people, if you weren't there when I was a student, which there's only a few left, or you don't work on my side of the building, I quite often, a lot of times, don't see you because you don't make it around to those other places. And so one of the things we've really worked at is recognition of staff. This year we also not only have recognition of staff from other staff members, but also staff from students, as well as our recognition of students. I believe most of the time when Student of the Month nominations come out, we get a message from the environment team that they've been filled within like the first half hour that they've been sent out, which is a great deal. We also have looked at implementing our Tier 1 expectations, which is pride. We've tried a few different things since I've been at the high school. This year we've kind of settled on pride as our Muskie focus. And probably the best thing about that is I think it's pretty simple, it's pretty easy to understand, as well as we've done the last one down there talks about dating and branding some new Muskie Pride. We talked about at the beginning of the year, we talk about the students, and probably one of the things is that when we nominate students for Student of the Month or staff, we try to figure out which principles of pride that they've have shown. So probably one of the interesting things is having one of my own children nominated, as well as nominating students. As many times when you look at the pride expectations, you think like, man, this kid does all those things. So that's a nice deal. And probably lastly there, we've implemented some character strong lessons. And character strong lessons, we've done it with some pilot with some 9th grade groups. And one of our challenges is just which time period and how many to implement that with. So that's kind of still a work in progress and kind of going through those phases. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer those about the high school.
Can you tell us what pride is? Or is it just like?
Right, it's
these
just
are
like all the
behavior
Muskie principles that we have.
expectations?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yep. So.
For students?
Yep.
Oh, perfect.
So.
Okay, thanks.
Well, student, staff, everybody, we're hoping, hopefully it catches on and it's like, you know, builds throughout the district and, you know, for all of our events and those types of things, so. All right. If there's no questions, I'll go back to the basketball game, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rachel Fallon. I teach ELA at Susan Clark Junior High. So I'll go with the instructional overview first. Our goal is to have high-quality Tier 1 instruction for all students at all levels. We have been conducting coaching cycles based on our CTT, or sometimes you might hear them or know them as PLCs, Professional Learning Communities, but we have transitioned to our collaborative teams. And we're basing a lot of those cycles off of our walkthrough data. All teachers are receiving at least one walkthrough a quarter, so hopefully at least 2 a semester. And then our I-team puts that data together, and we have our instructional coaches come in, talk to our CTTs, and we look at, you know, the Muskie core practices. What are we seeing in our classrooms? What are we not seeing in our classrooms? And what do we maybe want to change, or what kind of goal do we want to set as a team that we would like to see in our instruction? And we set that with our coaches, and we kind of circle back to that goal in our CTTs. We are also focusing on our co-teaching models, specifically since we often have a lot of other partners in our classrooms. We have paraeducators, we have special ed co-teachers, so we're really focusing on how do we best utilize all of the adults in the room. And so each time we meet for professional development, we focus on another co-teaching practice. Recently, we just did station teaching. And so we learn about it, we split off into different groups and learn how other teachers implement stations in their classrooms to meet the standards. And then we kind of divide out and talk with our co-teachers and paraeducators about how we're going to implement that in our own room and what it's going to look like for us. In addition, our CTTs are collecting very specific data related to the standards. In fact, I would go as far to say that our building is pretty much standards focused when it comes to our grading, and we're moving in the direction of also eliminating the participation category from our grade book and just really focusing on the learning rather than compliance and student grades. So in this work, we are gathering data, common formative assessment data, common summative assessment data, and making sure that everything is tied to a standard so that's meaningful for students, and hopefully it becomes clear to all stakeholders. The SST team is a team of delegates from our E&I team, and they meet weekly on Thursdays, and they review everything from academics, behavior, and attendance. On the academic side of things, they pull Fs, but they also take referrals from teacher. So sometimes we might have a student in class who's not failing, but they might be struggling with certain concepts. Those teachers are able to make a referral to the SST team. They'll take a look at that. They'll look at other data forms and kind of make a decision of how we want to move forward into Tier 2 practices, possibly to meet the needs of that student. On the environment side of things, our goal is always to make sure students feel safe, supported, included, and celebrated. I feel like the celebrated is one that we are really focusing on this year. So all students are to receive Tier 1 Character Strong lessons in DLT at the 7th and 8th grade level. This happens weekly. So in our DLT, which is where we start in the morning, students are receiving that instruction Tuesday, Wednesday, and potentially Thursday. And that is every week, and we are making sure that that is a priority. We try to make sure that they're not pulled out of DLT and that they're not missing that instructional time. We are also utilizing the SERVE model in our professional development. So on the instruction side, we're focusing on co-teaching practices. On the environment side, we're focusing on SERVE, which I am learning the acronym for that. Start, engage, respond. I wanted to say respect, but I'm like, no, it's not respect. Respond, value, and exit. And so each professional development, we come in and teachers get to kind of choose which of the acronyms they're going to get more learning on. And so throughout the year, we'll work our way through that acronym, and I'll have it memorized fully by the end of the year. And that is a completely staff-led PD. We start together and then we break out, and teachers are leading those sessions. Another thing we're doing is really celebrating students and staff. And our admin team does a great job every Monday. They do a Google Meet. Our students get to see them face to face, and they do student shout outs, they do staff shout outs, they do birthdays. We put up a recognition wall with pictures so students can kind of walk by and see what other students are doing, even what other teachers in their classrooms are doing. We also have weekly student drawings at lunch. We have students caught being good. We're doing some tickets where students can put in for a drawing. So if they are caught following the expectations or doing something that is, really extra kind, they can put in tickets for a drawing. We send postcards. Our goal is to send a positive note home to every student. And I think we've missed some things on here too. We have quarter celebrations, which is all about celebrating student learning. We have students, present work they've done in class. We have students perform. And in addition to that, we do Muskies of the Month, and we try to recognize as many students as we can, and we have parents come in and have breakfast with us, and we stand up and recognize students. So I feel like we're hitting the nail on the head with the celebrated part, and hopefully students are feeling really included in our building. Once again, our SST team are those delegates from our E&I team, and on the environment side, they review behavior, attendance, those kinds of things. So they look at log entry data, but we also, again, look at referrals. So, I've had some challenging students in my class. I make a referral, and, we see if that student is in need of Tier 2, maybe even Tier 3 instruction, so that they can hopefully meet our expectations and be more successful in the classroom. So are there any questions for Susan Clark? I know I probably went way over, but I wanted to be thorough.
Well, I just want to say something. It's not a question. First of all, thank you, but I like the idea of postcards, and you are using them to enforce a positive outcome, and that's really a very powerful tool. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I love to see all of the celebrations and just a consistent push for Tier 1.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
For presenting.
And I particularly like the part where he says students caught being good. I think that is an important, she even shook her head on that one.
Well, the middle school students can be challenging sometimes, but we do have a lot of students that are always coming in, doing the right thing, and sometimes we feel like they just get overshadowed by these heavy hitters every day. So we're definitely trying to make an effort to recognize students that might, kind of be quiet, but they're doing good things and they're being good leaders.
Thank you.
I'm Andrea Worley, and I'm from Franklin. I am a special ed teacher, and I also part of the BLT instructional side. So I'll go ahead and go through instruction. First of all, we had several teachers suggest we do something with handwriting. We have lots of kids that needed some more support. So we called in Barb from the AEA. She came in. She gave us some Tier 1 things that we can do, pencil grips, those kind of things, how to hold it, how to sit, those kinds of things that we can start within Tier 1 before we get to her. Purposeful planning was, we did a survey last year at the end of the year of what we were going to focus on. And our teachers had that input of what did they want to improve on based on those Muscatine core practices. So purposeful planning, being intentional about what strategies they want to use, and just giving them the time to do that. Co-teaching kind of is a part of that we've taken on this year too. We have a lot of adults in our room with paras and EL and SPED, and just making sure that we're using all of those resources to benefit kids. Student engagement was the other thing that we're really working on. We're working towards PD, the next PD, doing like an ed camp where our teachers are going to teach. So questioning was one of the big things, and student discourse, and just getting students to engage and have those conversations to improve those critical thinking skills. Environment, PBIS, obviously going over those expectations, reviewing those expectations and procedures. Relationships, we've really focused on the last couple of years at Franklin. So we kind of took that a step further, and we're doing kind of work tomorrow on establishing and maintaining and repairing those relationships too, because we know how important having those relationships are. We've also implemented Character Strong in our Tier 1 and Tier 2s. So again, just beefing up that Tier 1, all the students. We've also continued to do positive office referrals, which is something that our kids really enjoy. Just getting that catch and being good. But just, yeah. And one we didn't put on there is we're working towards staff, how to celebrate our staff too, and how they want to be celebrated. Any questions for me?
Can you say just a little bit more? I'm a little bit confused on the positive office referrals. What did you mean by all that?
It's through our environment team. So it's just something that we have at Franklin. You shine, how you're being respectful to yourself, others, and you can, each teacher, we don't have a number that they want, but we try to get a couple a week, each teacher, so that we are celebrating quite a few kids each week. Anything else I want to say about positive?
They get called to the office for a good reason.
And they, yes.
They call it your whole thing.
So they get their picture taken, so that's another thing. They get their little candy. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, but it's, again, just making them feel important and part of, and.
Sure. It was just that when you have positive office referrals, I'm thinking usually if you have to go to the office, it's not usually positive.
And that's why we did that, because of, because of the ODRs. We thought, let's make this a positive experience.
Yeah, thank you.
Will one of you just tell me what TFI means? Anyone? Sorry, I've been trying to figure it out myself.
Okay, so you asked what's TFI.
Yes.
So through our environment teams, we use a tiered fidelity index tool to take a look at our entire environment. So that would be our routines, our expectations of students in the hallway, in the classroom, all of those things. We have, through our MTSS coordinator, through Paige Williams, she works with our environmental coaches and the environmental teams. And the environmental teams are the ones that really do that TFI. They walk through their buildings. We have AEA support that walk through, and they do this tiered fidelity index rating, and it comes back to the environment team. Then they have a score, and you'll see that in all of the campus improvement plans, is when you see the TFI score, okay, and then a goal around that TFI to improve that score. Any other questions on that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Melissa Shoemaker. I'm a 6th grade teacher at Grant and serve on their BLT.
a grant. We also have been meeting and talking about, in our professional development, about different things that we want to do to improve instruction and environment. Oh, sorry. There we go. Okay. So one of the things that we have been working on is we identified that we needed to have some routines and procedures that work in common with each other. And so we've been working on doing those in our classroom as well as around the school in different areas and defining what those routines and procedures should be. So in instructional, we've been working on classroom routines and procedures, making sure that you're respectful and responsible and ready each day and what that looks like, and actually taking time to teach those things and not just say them, but to model them and to show how that works. We also have been doing some professional development on the math book, The Principles of Action, and those different strategies to help teach math. And then we also took some time during our professional development to take a look at the roles and the responsibilities around special education. We found that sometimes we lacked the knowledge of what is a para's responsibility, whereas what is a teacher's, classroom teacher's responsibility, what is a special education teacher's responsibility. So we took some professional development time to define those different things, and Amanda Whaley came in from AEA and kind of helped guide that and let us know, like, these are what fall under these different categories, and that was actually really helpful for, I think, everybody. In the environmental side, that we also have been doing those routines and procedures for what happens in the lunchroom line, in the bathroom, when you're walking down the hallway. Once again, those common expectations that we want to make sure we are taking time to actually teach during the school year. And then Character Strong, we've been using. Guidance counseling comes in every other week and does their own Character Strong lessons, and then teachers on those opposite weeks have been supplementing those Character Strong lessons as well. And then we have a systematic positive reinforcement of golden tickets that we give to students who are caught doing expectations that are above and beyond. We give those out to individual students as well as classrooms. And we have a theme of the Winter Olympics this year, so that's exciting for them. And we count how many golden tickets they get. You get to count how many you get as a classroom and how many they get individually, and we keep track of that. And then at the monthly assemblies, we kind of have different classrooms recognized for how many golden tickets they were able to earn that month. And then the last one, we have been teaching and reinforcing those Tier 1 expectations and behaviors, just taking a look with classroom teachers at what does that look like to teach and reinforce those Tier 1 expectations and behaviors, and making sure that everybody's aware. Anybody have any questions for Grant? All right, good, thank you.
Hi, I'm Lynn Hines. I am a first grade teacher at Jefferson. I am part of the E-team at Jefferson. And talking about our instruction overview, our building's been doing a lot of the same components that other buildings have, but unique to us is we started doing teacher-led carousel learning sessions. So we talked as a committee at the beginning of the year what we felt were some key components that we wanted to touch base on throughout the building. We also, at the beginning of the school year, with all PD, with our teachers and support staff, asking what would you like to focus more on that, so we got their feedback. And based from that, then we asked our staff who feels they are experts or somewhat of an expert to help lead some of these professional developments. And so we really wanted to tie research and recent research into those components. So different teachers led each different component. We kind of did it as if you attended an educational conference, so you could pick which areas you wanted to learn at and go to different sessions. And we broke those up into different ones, and we had teams lead those. So we did effects of moving on learning, writing versus typing, so the effectiveness of this and the implications. Why technology is wonderful, it is a detriment to our students' writing, and especially their creative writing. So we talked a lot about that. Strategies for building cognitive stamina, efficiency of small group instruction compared to whole group instruction. With the math adoptions, that's something that we really wanted to focus on as a whole as a district, of having those small group opportunities to teach instruction. So we're really excited to be a pilot school to be able to practice some of those strategies we've learned. And then effects of one-to-one devices. We also talked about integrating purposeful play in learning. Elementary students, as we know, are very active, and not just, we lose a lot of time of play with everything that we have to cover in the day, but play can be purposeful. And so instead of having in the curriculum a worksheet that might be sorting digraphs, instead of doing that worksheet, taking that same exact skill that you are doing and turning it into a learning hands-on activity. So we're still covering the same standards, the same lessons, just in a more unique way, so that there's more participation from the students and engagement, but also getting that activity in to help with their development. So we've been really focusing a great amount of that in our instruction this year. For environment, our biggest thing has been looking at ways to recognize and support our students. We had QR codes printed on cards that we all wear on our badges, and there's a QR code that anybody can scan that is our staff, whether they are in the office, the lunchroom, a para, a classroom teacher, and it will take you to the form for behaviors for minor or major, but also for those positive behaviors that we are seeing. And so when a student gets a positive referral, they get a little recognition by getting a sticker that they can wear saying that I made a positive choice. They also get acknowledged at our Super Start in the morning, and then also they will get a chance to meet with our admin to praise them of making their great choices. We also are working on sending at least every quarter one positive note home for each student. And it doesn't have to be just from the classroom teacher. So we have a document that we can mark off that if I saw another student in the building and they help me at recess, I can fill out a note and send it home, and then that teacher knows that that has been met for the quarter. We are also doing positive phone calls to families, reaching out on Parent Square with messages to them. We are also doing notes to staff, letting staff know a great job that they're doing, but also what growth they've been seeing in students that they might have previously worked with or are working with. And then our biggest component that we've been doing is a mentee program with the students and staff. Teachers got to put on a document during one of our PDs of some students that we felt might need a little extra support, not necessarily just academically. They might need social emotional support, or they are new to our building, or we even have some multicultural students, and so having those extra connections, because our biggest thing is we want the kids to feel supported and loved. We stress a lot that we are a family at Jefferson, and so making sure we're reaching those goals. And then teachers, we signed up for a few that we felt that we could manage, and the key is to reach out to those students that we signed up for at least once a week. You can do it more, but just touching base. I myself signed up for past students that I've had, just because I know some of their home lives, but also some that I miss getting to see all the time. And our building, as big as it is, when they were in first grade, I don't get to see them as much. So it's been really great having that opportunity to have those connections, but also other staff too, to say, hey, I've met with them and they shared this with me, and we can share their successes, but also keep each other up to date of other happenings that are going on in a child's life. So any questions for Jefferson?
I do have one question. In regards to the QR code, how are the students receiving those? Like, how do they know they've been acknowledged?
So we can tell them personally, like, oh, thank you. had a student that was picking up trash in the bathroom that wasn't hers, and one of the pairs walking by saw that and said, I'm going to let Miss or Dr. Steele know and do that. But then getting acknowledged at Superstar in front of their peers has been a really big component. Also getting to be called down to the office and get that one-on-one time, but no offense, Dr. Steele, they love having the shout out in front of everybody in the school versus just a little meeting. So, and then just sometimes, you know, teachers, we can choose upon ourselves if we want to acknowledge that even more, celebrate it within our own classroom family as well. Okay. All right, thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Kaiser from Madison Elementary. I'm here to talk about a little bit of the instructional and environment overview for our school. At Madison Elementary, we are focused on literacy rounds right now, and so far we have completed 2 rounds of literacy observations with our title and instructional teams. And then we have also been working a lot on differentiation this year. We have completed 2 walkthroughs per teacher this semester focused on differentiation, just how we can help students of all different types of needs, and that data is being shared at our BLT meeting, so we're acknowledging what we're doing for all of our students. And then for our environment overview, similar to some other schools, we are really working on that character strong, and we're really focusing on that tier 2 right now. We feel like we are really strong in the tier 1, but we're continuing to grow in that tier 2. So we have completed 1 whole round of tier 2 skill groups so far in character strong. And then how are we encouraging students and staff? We were really focusing on those positive office referrals for students. So far this semester we have completed, this semester we have completed 575 positive office referrals for students and 89 staff positive office referrals as well, which is similar to the student positive office referrals, where we just celebrate the teachers for the things that they have been doing really well in building the environment at Madison. Yeah, short and sweet to the point. Any questions at all from anybody?
I got a question from the standpoint of when you say that, first of all, thank you for the 575 student positive and 89 staff positive. How would you reflect that compared to before you guys started that? How many was not positive, you know, that had to go, you know, to the office or, you know, anything that way? Has this helped that to, you know, turn more of a positive rather than a negatives that happens?
Yeah. I can't say the exact number, but we have looked recently at just like the major and minor office referrals, and I know that we are very much down from previous years in terms of where we are in the semester from previous years. So I'm sorry, I can't give you an exact number, but it does feel like praising the students for doing the things that they have been doing well has in turn left less students going to the office for the things that we are not encouraging. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
I'm Lisa Doris, and I'm a 3rd grade teacher at McKinley Elementary. And so we have a lot of things going on as far as instruction environment as well. So on the instruction side, we are very much involved in purposeful planning this year, focusing on the CFUs and engagement, those checking for understandings during our lessons, and making sure that our students are engaged and focused and paying attention. We have banded grade level reading interventions for the purpose of maximizing differentiation. So we can have 2 grade levels working together in an intervention. For example, In my reading intervention group, every morning I have 3 second graders and 3 third graders in my group, just so that we can hone in and focus even better on the interventions that the students need. We have implemented a phenomenal first grade after-school tutoring program. It's been up and running for several weeks now, and it is making huge improvements already. Our CKLA coaching, I was actually involved in that. Third grade was involved in that last week, so a coach came and she modeled a CKLA lesson with our third graders. We watched her, and then we went back and we talked through the lesson. She asked us if there was any issues that we've been having. We talked through those. She gave us some incredible suggestions, and she will be back after the first of the year. We have been focusing on student goal setting, not just teachers, not just us saying, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to reach this. We're trying to teach the students how to look at their data and set goals that they feel like they can achieve. We have 6th graders working with kindergartners and 5th graders working with 1st graders, being their reading support buddies, and that's already showing some very positive results. We have coaching cycles that are being created as a result of our CTTs, of our planning times together, of our looking at data and things like that. We have para and teacher collaboration, and it's nice because that's kind of a purposeful planning time that we get. We don't just have to, you know, in 2 seconds that we have free in our classroom, talk to our paras. We actually have time to tell them what we need, ask them what they need, and work out those details, not in the actual classroom setting with kids there. And we are always working on continuous data reflection on the instruction side. So then over on the environmental side, we are doing a McKinley Connect, which is basically a morning meeting. Every Monday, we also band those different grade levels together, 3rd through 6th grade, kindergarten through 2nd grade, so that we can all get to know each other, different grade levels as well. We have student PBIS celebrations. So when our students are given those positive referrals, it happens on a weekly basis. They will get their, well, first of all, they get a certificate with a magnet on it that they get to keep on their locker. Then they get a certificate that they get to take home and share with parents. They get their name called over the loudspeaker. And my classroom, my 3rd grade classroom, they are now cheering for their friends and clapping and excited to hear when other students are called, even when it's not always them. We are also using Character Strong in our Tier 2 groups. Along with those student positive referrals, we also have staff positive referrals. And so we also get a certificate to take home and put on our refrigerator. And then we also have certificates that are posted on in one of our hallways, so that we can just smile every time we walk down that hallway. We also, on the environment side, have coaching cycles for environmental issues as a result of our CTTs, the para and teacher collaboration for the environment, things that we need to take care of, and also continuous data reflection for the on the environment side as well. So that's that. Questions?
I like, if I may say just a comment, I really like that first grade after-school tutoring idea. And I know that you did say that you just started that program recently. It would be nice maybe if we can revisit that in a year from now and see how something like that affects, you know, those students who went through that program into their second grade now and so on.
Yes.
So that's
And
a
I'm not
great idea.
actually one of the tutors, but just from things that I've heard, it's just, there was a lot of thought that went into who was chosen for that and how it was going to be, how the tutors were going to be teaching, and it's doing so well. So I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll add, I think some of us did actually receive an email today praising that program and that there was measurable success of the students in there. So it is nice too to hear like the direct feedback that they're seeing in their individual students and then as classes as a whole. So thanks for doing that.
Do you know how many students are part of that program?
12.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Madison Storjahan. I teach 4th grade at Mulberry. I also am a part of BLT and the instruction part of our instruction team and E-team. First and foremost, our 2 Muskie core practices of the 8 that we put emphasis on this year are purposeful planning and differentiation. So far, our teams have held stations of learning to share our own expertise, offering anyone who did come to our session manipulatives for them to walk away with and that they could use in their classroom that very next school day. And we heard some great feedback from that. Less for them to do. The BLT has also planned and organized intentional planning around special education teachers, gen ed teachers, and our paraprofessionals. As we get together, we analyze that student data, discuss current interventions, successes, and anything that is of rising concern. So in our feedback that we've received, it's been super positive. The paras especially feel as if their voice is being heard, that they feel a part of the classroom and the team as a whole. And the conversations towards students' goals are going very productively, which is great. Teachers have participated in instructional insights, which I found very exciting. It allowed us to reflect on our own teaching, and what's better than learning from our own peers, our own friends at school. We really enjoyed visiting our colleagues and seeing how they were engaging students regardless of the classroom or the age, reflecting on that differentiation and purposeful planning as well. Many walked away excited, and I too also tried something new in my classroom just from that experience, so that was great. In regards to environment, we've been celebrating students in regards to our school-wide expectations of being safe, responsible, and respectful, as well as their great attendance. We celebrate students and teachers at our monthly assemblies. Currently, 97% of our students have been recognized with a positive ticket, and our goal is 100% by winter break, so we have 9 days, and I think we can do it. Celebrating and recognizing staff is constant. Our action team of staff recognition, this is very elementary of us. We went around the school. Every staff member had a turkey with no feathers starting the week, and each staff member got feathers with random names on it, and on the feathers we could write something that we felt we were grateful for that specific person. It was really fun to see our turkeys get colorful throughout the week, and also the students noticed, and they would say, "Ms. Storjahan, you have another feather," and I would take that as a teaching opportunity of it's good to share gratitude regardless of your age and how that makes you feel. So they also wanted to share feathers. but we did not do that around the building. We just did that in our classroom. We also have been doing character strong implementation for all stakeholders. We have that common language that's represented in our calming corners that symbolizes that conflict tree, reminding students that they have a choice. They can walk it out, breathe it out, talk it out, and it is their choice on how to regulate. We also celebrate the monthly character trait, this month being empathy, in our messages home on Parent Square and in our monthly assemblies. We continue to work around Tier 1. We constantly do booster expectations of reviews. Specifically this week, we're doing snow recess expectations and constant celebrations. We have a very impressive bubblegum machine. If you would like to come to Mulberry and see it, I please invite you. Any staff member other than their teacher can recognize a student for being safe, responsible, and respectful. This is specific, more often than not, it's done in the hallway because that's when you see other classrooms the most. They get a little pom-pom, and that pom-pom goes in the gumball machine. I didn't know students could get super excited about a little pom-pom, but they really do. And once our school reaches the goal line, the students earn a reward, and those rewards were actually selected by our student advisory team that sent out a survey to their other students at Mulberry. So it was actually a totally student voice on those rewards. I believe Glow Party is up for the first goal, and we're close. So that's currently what we're doing at Mulberry. Amongst many things that the other schools are doing, this is just a quick snapshot, but do you have any questions for me at all? Awesome. Thank you so much.
I know this has been a long presentation tonight, but MTSS is what we do. That's how we practice school. And I think one thing that I just want to point out, as you look at the environment, we've always, historically looked at instructional data. It's report cards, it's grades, it's scores, all of those things. But I just want to have you just notice how much we're paying attention to environment and all the things that are happening with environment. So this is a very strategic way. Our district MTSS process is a very strategic way to really have equitable outcomes for students. Because you heard in every single school, we have instruction goals and environment goals, common language and expectations, and we're really focused on positive outcomes for students and positive interventions. And so really it is very strategic in how we're practicing. So having said that, do you have any other questions?
Jen, I'd just like to thank the teachers and the administrators that are still here. I know some of them left. That, to emphasize the positives. And that's the common theme that I kind of heard throughout all the presentations was the positives, and I really appreciate that. So thank everybody else for...
I was able to attend a positive behavior intervention conference with a team from the high school. And the one thing that we really came away with is that the things laid out, and that's 30 years of research using a positive behavior intervention system, that we're in a really, really great place. But also this strategic way, you can see, also shares leadership across the buildings, because not only do we have that building leadership that oversees, we have an instruction team, an environment team, and they use data. It's all data-based to make the decisions around what professional development we need, and really focusing on that positive. It really changes an environment when you truly focus on positivity.
I agree, thank you.
I do have a question. Is or how is this implemented in the Early Learning Center?
So, do you want to?
Yeah. They also follow the same around environment instruction. Jesse Frears and some of our teachers are actually going to come and share about the preschool at a different time, but they also do follow the same presentation, come to our trainings and everything as well. So when they come to present about the preschool, you'll hear more about that as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll just add that as I've been in buildings too, as I've talked to teachers, I think there's been a lot going on with new curriculums being added and all of the different, and then really just a whole language shift really as a district over the last few years, and then changes in leadership, and everyone I talk to just feels like they know their course. And so I think that that's really a testament to all of the work that's being done. So that's been really good to see, and I think we've had several conversations at this table about like, it's hard to know what's happening in every building, and are we giving every kid an experience? And even though everyone shared different things, they're really all doing very similar things. You just highlighted some different ways that you're achieving it. And so I think it's been really exciting to be able to sit on this side and see it all come together, because you've been working really hard and sometimes not always easily. So it's really been good to see the feedback and hear the feedback. So thank you.
And I would just add here at the end, and Lindsay, I'm glad you commented on that, because, you know, again, they aren't all exactly the same, but you can see clear themes in each one of the buildings, and there's a lot of great work happening. They're never going to be identical. For it to really work, it has to be building driven. The teachers in the building, the staff in the building, their areas of passion, but they know where we're headed as a district, and that's why you see a lot of that that common work. So that kind of provides the guardrails to ensure we're all moving in the same direction. It may not look exactly the same. The goals are going to be a little bit different based on the building, the students, what they need. A lot of teacher-led professional development, collaboration, a lot of conversations around data and classroom observations, all of those things to improve practice, right? To improve outcomes for students. And then just the last piece, I think that this demonstrated is we have really talented staff, right? And so sometimes just giving them an opportunity to work together, to collaborate, and move forward. So a lot to be proud of here. As we've seen that kind of, you know, steady progress, a lot has to do with this work that's happening in each building, in instruction and environment, right? Because we know for a long time at DDE, we're probably going to hear more about that again. It's behavior, it's recognition, it's collaboration. These plans also reflect that, right, from what our buildings are feeling. So I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight and presenting. And again, you saw a lot of commonality in the plans and the focus of where we're headed.
All right, thank you. We'll go right back to you for the superintendent update.
Now you get to hear from me again. All right, just some things I want to update you on, and kind of each time, you know, as we've been, these last several months, I've done a little bit of a legislative update leading into this legislative session that will start here soon in January. Thursday, I had the opportunity to meet with legislators at the AEA and other area superintendents, and just talk about this upcoming session, address some of our concerns, hear from them. And it's something we've talked about. You know, we've been in declining enrollment for a number of years. The state is in declining enrollment, right? The vast majority of districts in the state are in declining enrollment. And certainly probably more specifically this year than even previous years. And again, here and across the state, it's really a birth rate issue. We're not getting an influx of people moving into the state. Families just aren't having as many kids as they used to have. So all of those things are kind of factoring into this, but we also know how that relates to funding. And so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. I think every year, and hopefully, especially for board members that have been on the board for a number of years, you've heard me say, you know, we're going to see a crossroads here as state revenue comes down and spending goes up, right? We are the biggest piece of the state budget, right? And so when that crossroads happens, they're going to say, education, we've been given, like, we're going to have to cut back here. We're starting to hear that more specifically this year. I think this is the first time I've heard almost immediately expect a 0% increase, okay? Now, whether we realize that 0% or not, if it's not this year, it's coming, right? So we've been kind of preparing for this. It was probably a little unsettling for all of us to maybe hear it so specifically, but we'll see where that comes into play as they go through the session. I will say from our standpoint too, the things we talk to them about is making that decision, even if it's zero, as soon as they possibly can. Because we need to react to that and build plans and staffing on that. We also, as you know, send out a mailer to all of our taxpayers in the community. And the last several years, none of that information has been known yet, so we have to make a guess, right? Which means we have to set it at the highest possible level. And that gets people even more worked up in a document that's confusing to begin with, right? So really trying to communicate that to them. But because so many districts are on declining enrollment, as you know, the kind of consequence of that is the budget guarantee. So if all of our funding is really focused on student enrollment and you're going down, you have this budget guarantee that allows you to kind of keep level funding from that one year to the next. That's all funded through local property tax, right? And so and certainly it's meant to have, like, 1 year, it kind of gives you a boost and then you kind of recover from that. For districts like us, this has been kind of every year kind of thing, because it's really the out years that really become more difficult. So when we talk about SSA and we talk about that to legislators, we have from ISFIS and the UEN a property, or excuse me, it's a spreadsheet that we can plug in and kind of see where that new authority, what impact that would have on our funds for next year. And so when you plug that in, and I will just say from a budgeting standpoint, we've been thinking about 2%. So certainly zero puts it in a different perspective, but so starting from zero. So if we ended up at a 0% SSA, and so regardless of anything that happens, we would be down funding at about, in our regular program district cost, about $138,000, okay? All budget guarantee does is help fill that gap, whatever that gap is. We're still gonna be down funds. That $138,000 is just how we get there, right? How much of that new money helps offset that. So at zero, and thinking back to our levy last year, we were on budget guarantee. So if at zero, we get that adds another 30 cents to the tax levy, okay? Which equates to about $475,000 in additional property taxes that would have to be raised to get us to that level, okay? If they go to 1%, okay, if we make it to 1%, that additional levy cost goes from 30 cents to 9 cents, okay? And that additional levy amount is $134,000, okay? So you can see we're just from 0 to 1 makes a big difference. If we get to 2%, it would be a 13-cent reduction in the levy from the previous year. Okay? So we would actually realize some savings from the previous year at 2% of about $200,000. That's for the budget guarantee component, okay? If everything was great and we got 3%, we'd actually see a 30-cent reduction in our property tax levy, okay? And a savings on that levy of about $485,000, okay? So remember, that's us specifically we're talking about, and now you're magnifying that across the entire state. So one of the things we try to communicate to legislators is, and they will say their focus is on reducing the burden to property taxpayers, right? And we all agree that's a good thing to do. But by increasing SSA, they can actually reduce the burden to property taxpayers. And because as a state, we're in declining enrollment, the cost of a 2% increase is less this year than it was last year because there's fewer students. So it's costing the state less money to do the same kind of increase. So again, as we move forward, those are the kind of pieces we want to continue to talk about with legislators. They'll have some, I know they'll be meeting in Des Moines here in the next couple of days. There'll be an update into the revenue estimates. that when that number comes here in the next week or so, that really drives the funding conversation for the legislative session. So that'll be an important piece to listen to. The other thing we know that will be happening is there'll be some type of property tax reform. They talked about it last year, it didn't get passed. It'll be probably the primary focus this session to get that done. I'm hoping they don't hold SSA hostage in order to get it done so we can get that finished, figure out where we're at, and move forward. And again, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. They don't know what that's going to look like yet. We have some good resources in the UEN, School Administrators of Iowa, IASB. They'll all be helping us understand what the implications of some of this property tax reform. The other thing that I think is a benefit is it's not just schools when we're talking property tax reform. It's cities, it's counties, it's municipalities. So those are shared conversations we need to continue to have with our locally, our local leaders as well from the city and the county. So again, want to get kind of that information in front of you. I've since had some follow-up conversations both from Margaret Buckton with the UEN and some follow-up conversations with Shane Williams at the AEA. That initial like, yep, expect 0%, and if you get anything more than that, that's just like a bonus. That maybe it's probably a little bit better than that, so hopefully we can get to 2, but we also have to talk about it, right? And say how it impacts Muscatine and the state at large. And so we have very specific numbers depending on where those numbers come back and how it impacts, you know, everyone here in our community. Questions about that?
Well, it's not a question, Clint. I have a comment. You know, I cannot believe how any of those politicians or legislators can justify, for example, the 0% for public education while they are maintaining the voucher money. I mean, this is truly disgusting, and truly they have to hear it. Public money, tax dollars for public education, period. There is no plus, no minus. If they are justifying the vouchers while at the same time giving zero money, for example, we don't know, but if they are saying zero money and end up giving zero money, that will send a very strong message to all of us, those of us who are in public education, that those people don't care about public education. And these are something that we have to be very loud about it when we talk to them about that.
Well, and the other thing I was able to share with legislators is, you know, because one of the things we hear, well, you're going to have to tighten your belt just like everybody else. We have been doing that, right? We've been doing a really good job of that, right sizing. And we'll continue to do that. You know, again, the SSA, the part of that challenge will, where that falls, the closer it gets to zero, kind of the bigger the hole for next year, right? So we can get through next year, it's kind of like the year after. So it kind of just puts us behind, you know, a little bit further. But again, hopefully, you know, we can continue to advocate, you know, and talk with our legislators and see where we end up, okay?
Clint, I'm trying to remember from last year, was the, pardon me, was the voucher program, did they get the same type of increase that the public got for their increase?
You know, again, it doesn't work exactly the same, but there is a component of it. And I know there will, you know, Margaret Buckton with UEN will say, listen, the vouchers aren't going away, that's done, right? We have that right now. But let's leverage, because now it's not just us, it's also private schools. As we talk about property tax reform, it's more than just us as well. How do we leverage all of that to communicate to legislators, we need these additional funds, right? Again, that being said, when revenue is doing this and expenditure is doing that, and we're the biggest piece of the pie, it's coming. And so, you know, again, we've been talking about that, we've been monitoring that, we've been working really hard to right size. We're going to have to continue to do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a couple of other things, just moving on from that piece of it. Assembly, our new board system. I just want to do a quick check-in. How are things going? What's working well? Maybe what's not working well? Or things we can support you with in terms of that online platform for our board information.
Seems to be all right.
Nobody's throwing anything at me, so it must not be terrible.
I mean, being new to it, it's very user-friendly. I mean, no issues.
I like that we can compare things to other districts.
And they've just added a new feature for a policy where you can look at them side by side. So see what the existing policy is and what the recommended would be. So you can, I mean, just pull them right up together. So you don't have to, you know, bounce back and forth between. Okay.
My area is just that, more of an acknowledgement about what we're looking to do coming up is, with the AI and technology stuff, that the things that we learned from at the state meetings, and what that means for different ones to get some of that educational area of it. So then from there, we know how to teach the teachers, so the teachers then can teach the kids on it. So I think it's something that we need to be very diligent in making sure that we move forward purposely on what we're doing with all the technology, you know, with all that stuff.
And we do have some meetings coming up with some staff, some community members to talk more specifically about AI, some of the resources, some of the, you know, how other districts are handling it, to kind of build out, you know, we finally have some guidance from the state a little bit. We'll leverage those pieces and kind of walk through what that could look like for us as well. So I think that piece is coming, and we'll continue to share that update with the board as we move it along. So I do want to take, since you mentioned the ISB conference, just spend a little time reflecting on that also, your input on what you thought of the conference, and just kind of talk about some of those pieces as well. This is where you get an opportunity to share some of your insight from the conference.
I thought we had, the sessions that I went to were very good. I went to the AI one with Karen, with Williamsburg, and they had some insightful things that I think that working with your elementary students that they do with the AI. I didn't get to stay for our session. How did that turn out? Now, do we have good attendance in that?
Well, let other people speak to that.
That's because you don't want to pat yourself on the back too much. It was, I would guess, if they share the survey results for the conference, it's going to be one of the top-rated sessions. People did not want to leave. They didn't want the question time to end. That's the truth. It was honestly really, really well done. Clint did a great job talking about the highs and lows and the patients and how it's partnered us with other parts of the community, including like city and parents and even staff members that have utilized it and things. People stayed, they asked questions, they were very engaged. And we were after lunch, right? And they
Yeah, we were that session after lunch, right before the final session, and where normally people are flocking out the doors. But we did have a good turnout. Just, you know, again, for the community, anyone watching, that presentation was on our community conversations that we've been doing for a number of years, and just really how that got started, and you know, the different challenges we've had, and also trying to be really clear that it may not work for every district in every situation, and but just how it's worked for us. And I do think the feedback was good, the attendance was good. People tended to stay there instead of kind of leaving as the presentation went along. So. And I appreciate the board being there and also providing input, because ultimately it is about board members and their, you know, and connecting with the community. So I appreciate all the comments from the board as well. Any other feedback from the conference?
I think it's an outstanding conference. I mean, we have been attending that almost for the past, I don't know how many years, but I think every year we feel, or at least I feel, that it's much better than the year before in terms of the sessions, in terms of the main speakers, also at lunch and dinner and so on. So overall, I would say outstanding for sure.
I was very thankful that my first session was School Finance 101, so I had a fresh brain to tackle that. I mean, there's just so much to unpack there, and I left that session wondering, how do we make this like bite-sized so that we can share some of this like just right information with our community to kind of, you know, elevate some of these conversations that we're having about school finance and where things are headed. So very thankful that was early on in the morning and maybe something to think about. So
Ready for 201.
yeah, I'll stay at 101 for now.
Any other comments? So the last thing I will say, I think the other two really important pieces. One, it's the things we learn from other districts that are going really well. But I think I always walk away, and I know a number of you do as well, in pride in what we're doing here in Muscatine, because you hear about things that are happening in other places. There's so much good work happening. We have such a high-functioning board, great administrative team. We work well. Everybody's focused on the same thing. That doesn't happen everywhere. And sometimes we take for granted, and even in the presentations you sit through, there's a lot of things we're already doing that people are presenting on, because we are doing a lot of great work here, and we just outstanding staff. So I always walk away feeling, you know, a little bit better about all the stuff we're doing here as well, and I hope you do as well. The last piece I want to say is we did receive another board award. It's a Board Award of Excellence, is that? I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
We'll get it mounted up here somewhere to recognize your learning as a board. And that's something that's second year in a row that we've done that. And again, I think it reflects the fact that we are a learning organization, and that's all the way through at all levels. And so I appreciate the time and energy you put into that. Going to the conference, you get 6 hours of credit. I think you've got to get to 15. So you got a really good start on it. We typically do something with Tammy Drawbaugh in the summer, have like board development, board learning, get some credit hours there, and then there's plenty of online things, webinars, especially as we get into the legislative session. There'll be a number of things, so make sure you jump into those as well. So I appreciate the time and energy for that. Collaborate Muscatine, we have our summit coming up on Wednesday from 8 to 11 at the Merrill. We are full. I think we have 225 people attending, which is more than it was last year. So looking forward to that, sharing information, sharing some updates. Again, kind of like the ISB conference, the goal is really, people should walk out there feeling pretty good about things that are happening across Muscatine in a variety of levels, certainly education, and I'll be talking about those things on Wednesday. Also coming up, just want to keep this in front of you too, is our ribbon cutting for the auditorium. Will be Wednesday, December 17th at 4 o'clock from 4 to 5. I know we've got some performances organized. We'll have some, I think, choir, some band stuff, some different things. We'll have, refreshments and some of those things. Refreshments in the lobby. We'll keep those out of inside there. But again, really a great opportunity for the community to see this. For many of them for the first time in a very long time, and people are going to be really impressed. And so we're kind of excited to show that off. I think tonight was the first, or tomorrow is the first elementary concert Christmas program that will open up the auditorium. So you'll probably start hearing comments about how great it is. So we're looking forward to that. I want to talk again about the calendar survey. It is now closed. We finished pretty much where we left off the last time, about 59% selecting calendar 2, that's the Friday early release. Calendar 1 was about 24.5%, and calendar 3 was about 17%. Okay. Calendar 1 and 3 are similar versions of themselves, so even when you combine them, they're at about 40. So it's kind of like a 60-40 split. And what I shared with you the last time, when you go down by, if you go down by building, if you go down by whether it's parent, staff member, level, doesn't matter. Level 2 is always the highest response. Okay? Now, the percentages may vary slightly, but it's always the highest percentage of every single group. And so I think, you know, we've talked about there's going to be there's certainly challenges in whatever, you know, calendar we pick, and certainly some things we'll have to work through. But in terms of making a recommendation, because we put this out to our staff, to our community, and they give us feedback, for me it's difficult not to bring a recommendation to you that reflects all of that feedback, which right now would be calendar 2. If, you know, as we bring that to you in January for approval, and then that also means we've got to start, you know, working through some logistics on that, what that's going to look like. Certainly we know that some childcare is a piece of that. We have our paras in the building on those days, so certainly we can leverage them in helping do some kind of after-school time. I also think because it's Friday afternoon, the vast majority of our kids are probably going to be heading home, right? We can, again, kind of navigate that. We know that activities will be a question that have come up. We'll have to do some things there. So, you know, certainly the junior high and the high school will have some things to work through in terms of some of those logistics. It's certainly something that we can work through as well. So questions, comments, thoughts on that?
Yes, actually. Interesting part is I have not had anybody come to me that is saying that they want, in other words, that they look at that for the number 2 as their response that they want. What I get is the ones that are the negative ones that they're saying that they do not want number 2, you know, for their response. And I guess it'd probably be kind of nice if there's some way that we hear more about those positive responses on it, or why
we can only
they think
share
it's
the data
response.
with you,
Yeah.
right? And you may be hearing more of the negative responses. I think we had over 800. Okay, 729, not quite to 800, which is vastly more than we've ever gotten in the past, right? So it is we've gotten a lot of feedback on it, and that's where the numbers.
Well, I guess because when you get that feedback, do they say why they like it or anything like that?
There's opportunities for comment. Does
not
everyone
necessarily
comment? No,
meant
but there are
comment.
some positive comments about liking it.
Yeah.
Again, we can share all that information.
All right, I appreciate that.
You know, again, I struggle bringing you a recommendation that doesn't reflect what we sent out and the feedback we got. I think that will be the challenge. But again, ultimately, we'll have a hearing on it, and you get to vote yay or nay. And if you vote nay, then we got to come back to the table with a different calendar, right? That's the process.
What was the early out time on that Friday?
Was it 2 hours? 1 o'clock? So it'd be like
So it's 1 o'clock, 1:20.
2 hour early out, so that would be around 1:30.
Okay, I was just trying to think about, like, throughout the year, how many hours of, you know, in-service professional development time, and then what that professional, like, how would we prioritize that and differentiate that? You know, every building has their own initiatives and things,
And I
so
think
understanding what that
that's
would look
part
like.
of the other piece that we will have to be clear on is what it's used for and what it's not used for. You know, right now, I think the intent is that there's stuff that's going on kind of all through the week. How do we really centralize that, right? And protect time where we can. I think in moving forward, we'll have to set up some type of rotation, like the first early release of the month is going to be this. Second one will be, you know, so we rotate through. Some of it will professional development. Some of it can be teacher collaborative time, those kind of things, and kind of lay that out, and we can begin to work through that with our principals. But those are questions and comments have come up. What does that really look like?
Yeah, and thank you for being mindful of what that's going to do to families that have young children, because that's going to be tough to navigate.
And right now, so actually, I think one of the positive comments is they feel like, for some of our families, feel like the routine weekly piece is easier to manage than the once a month, half day, full day. Right? So, I mean, I know that comment is in there because I've seen that one, but again, we can share all that with you. Then just the last couple of quick pieces. DDE is finished. Talked with David Svensson, who's helping crunch all of the information, clean up the comments so that we can redact, you know, specific names and those kind of things. I should have something probably next week, which we always present it in January just to, you know, and then we'll kind of work back through that process of looking at a building level and a district level. In addition to that, you'll hear a little bit about this on Wednesday with our community perception survey that we had results back. Had the opportunity to hear from Peter Leatherman, who is the president of the company, Morris Leatherman, that did the research. And it is very, very positive and something that I've had that survey done before in other districts, not knowing what to expect here, because sometimes you don't always hear about the positive perspectives of our district, and there's just a lot of really positive pieces. So one of the, just briefly going to be sharing at the Collaborate Summit, you know, a couple of quick highlights of that. Then we'll have an opportunity, I believe in January, where we have our joint council with the city, the county, and the school district, where we're gonna have Peter there to, well, he'll probably be virtual, to walk through all of that information for you. So you really get to dig into that a little bit more and ask questions. But, you know, again, I think loud and clear how positive our community feels about our staff, how positive they feel about we're moving in the right direction, that we're better than we were 4 years ago, how positive they feel we are as a great value, we're a good investment, that, you know, we use money wisely. There's just a number of positive pieces in there that we're just really excited to share with you. Keep in mind that this was a survey done of 761 individuals in our community that spent nearly 15 minutes on the phone with somebody talking about this. So it wasn't just to fill out this, you know, they call them, they leave a message, and people choose to follow up. I think the non-response rate was only 6.5%. So the community was very gracious with their time and providing some really good feedback that really represents, you know, when you think about all the demographics, it's very representative of our community, and something we really can be proud of. And it's not something you do every year, right? So in 2-3 more years, you come back, do it again, and then you have a comparison, right? And see, are you continuing to move through things in the right direction? But one of the comments Peter made was, you know, what's really clear is you have a community that trusts you and believes in you and feels like you have involved them in decisions. That's like a core base, and you don't have to convince them otherwise. What we have to do is just kind of communicate some of the other pieces that we're doing really well to provide more of that information. But they believe in what we're doing here, and they believe we're doing the right work. So happy to continue to share that information. Like I said, I'll give a little snapshot of that on Wednesday. So with that, any other questions for me? Okay.
Moving into the consent agenda, the following items are considered to be routine by the Board of Education and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a director requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence from the agenda. We have A, approve the minutes of the November 17th meeting. B, approve bills and claims. C, approve employment recommendations. D, approve policies with no, minimal, or required by law changes. E, approve the changes in the 2025 to 2026 Unified Contract Addendum for all district administrators, directors, and classified professionals handbook. Approve the interfund transfer. Approve special education services 25-26 contracts with Des Moines Independent Community School District. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items requiring action. Approve the contract for the Muscatine Community School District turfed field replacement to Sprint Turf for $487,870. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the turf replacement.
Second.
All right. Any discussion or questions
I'll just
on that?
do some quick follow-up for you guys. This is the practice field that's behind the Van Heck Center. It's been in place for 20 years. 20 years. Originally, the funds for that field were provided by the Roy J. Carver Charitable Trust. So we've gotten a lot of use out of that field. I know just in the last year or two, the condition of that field it's kind of deteriorating rapidly, where we really needed to do something about it. And so I know Chris wrote a grant to the Roy J. Carver Charitable Trust to help with the replacement costs. They are providing $350,000 towards this, with us picking up the rest. Bids come in really good, and certainly the additional dollars from the district come from our SAVE or Pebble funds, right, that we can help finish those costs off and get that replaced. So it's scheduled with approval tonight to be kind of the first thing we do in the spring. Again, we have a lot of our teams that use it, and certainly gets a lot of community use as well.
So are any of these, the bids, were they any of the turf people that we've had before?
Yeah,
Did we
a lot
choose
of.
the same one, or I guess I don't remember.
Chris, if you're gonna have to come up and talk about that, sorry.
I think we got 3 bids in.
Yeah, I
and,
see that.
You know, obviously we have to take the lowest one.
Right.
But this would be different than baseball and softball, the last ones we put in. Sprint turf is different from that.
Yeah, this is basically, the infrastructure is already there. We just have to take the old turf off, put new turf on.
Pulling the
Correct.
carpet off and putting new carpet down.
Yeah, they'll do a little bit of work on the base, you know,
Right.
just because there is some dipping in certain parts of the field, but for the most part, it's a pretty quick process. But, and you gotta remember that field is probably, you know, half bigger than a normal football field, because it's a international rugby field is when it was built. So you got 20 yards on both sides of the length of the field that you generally don't have in a field. But just because the structure was there, it was probably easier just to keep the structure and just replace the turf, and for the same cost of, you know, trying to make it smaller.
Is this rented out like it is for other things, or can people just show up and use that? I mean, obviously, it's kind of hard to not.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, we do have some programs that rent it out, you know, YSF and some soccer programs, things like that are feeder programs. But, you know, unfortunately, that one's a little bit harder to control.
Right.
So, yeah, people do show up and use it as well, so, without paying the fees.
Chris, are there lights on that field?
What's that?
Are there lights?
Yep.
Over there? Oh, there
Yep.
are. Okay. I was gonna make a comment too, and you mentioned it, the rugby. I think this is really good timing, because I remember when it started, and all of the, international rugby players were coming in to play here, and it was a whole program. And our rugby program has since kind of revived and is taking off, so it just kind of seems a little nostalgic that's happening. But I do just want to make the comment too, and I spoke with Clint about this earlier, just because this seems to kind of have jumped to the top of the list when you look at like our building studies and what needs to be done. And so I just think it's important to reiterate that there is money. Thank you for applying for that grant too, that's going to help fund this. And then because of the wear and tear on that turf, there were some safety concerns too during practices and things like that. So just to be mindful, this isn't to take away from other Pebble use, but it's pretty necessary. So
Yeah, I think that the existing turf is getting to be a safety hazard too.
Yeah, it's definitely a safety hazard. I mean, we were at the point that football about pulled their kids from it this year because it was so difficult on the kids' bodies.
Quick question, the contract amount, is that before or after the grant?
That is before the grant, so you take, 487 minus 350 is what the district will end up paying.
Thank you.
Good question.
I mean, I played on the turf in high school, of course. Turf's nearly as old as I am, so I'm glad to see that it is getting replaced, so.
Yeah, we're thankful to the Carver Trust for the funding they gave, so that, I mean, that really helps this situation.
We have more turf fields now too, so our capacity to maintain fields, I think, has improved. It used to be the only one, right? So now we've got a lot more of them, so it just becomes more routine maintenance for all of them.
Great point. Any other questions? All right, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the contract, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is I just clicked it again. See, I'm the only one with Simply problems. All right, approve open enrollment out not on prior year's headcount. The district's administration is authorized to submit a request to the School Budget Review Committee for a modified supplemental amount of $431,883 for open enrolled out students who were not included in the district's previous year certified enrollment count. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the open enrollment out not on prior year headcount.
Second that.
Any discussion or questions?
Just, again, quickly want to follow up. This is something we do every year. It's kids that come after the count. The thing I want to point out to you is it gives us the authority to spend these dollars. What doesn't it give us?
The dollars.
The cash. So when we do this, and we do this for EL, and we do it for some other, when we get the authority, we have the ability to spend it, but we don't have the cash. And that's where we have that cash levy that we can leverage then to actually spend these dollars. So that's a little bit of the challenge with it, right? We get the authority to spend it. We don't always have the cash to spend it.
So these are students that have opted out, open enrolled
I would
out?
say a majority of these students they weren't ever here. They might have moved in and open enrolled back out to where, or moved in and went online.
Right, but it's our responsibility to pay for them, that they were never on our enrollment, so we never got money from the state for that, but we still have to pay out.
Correct. So they give us the authority to do it, and then we have to pay it out.
All right. All in favor of the motion that we have, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Approve English learners instruction beyond 5 years. The district's administration is authorized to submit a request to the School Budget Review Committee for a modified supplemental amount of $84,592 related to the EL program for students who have exceeded 5 years of waiting that are included in the fall 2025 certified enrollment headcount. We'll need a motion.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And any further discussion on that one? All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? For discussion and information part, we do have our financials here. Tom's not with us.
Unfortunately, you're stuck with me. Tom is not able to be here tonight. So you can see the information. In talking with him, there are no concerns. But again, if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to follow up.
We do have a review of the administrative regulations on use of information service. Resources. I did think of the AI conversations we were having as I was reading through this a little bit too, and so that's good. Any other discussion on that? All right, upcoming announcements and meetings. December 19th is a 2-hour early dismissal. December 22nd through January 2nd will be winter break. January 5th, school will resume, and January 12th will be our community conversations, followed by our regular scheduled board meeting. Is there any other announcements or events? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.